If you're in that messy middle stage of improvisation and you feel stuck because you're only using blues scales and minor pentatonic scales, watch this video for a huge reason why you shouldn't use just those scales. Hi, I'm Donna from DonnaSchwartzMusic.com, the site to boost your improvisation and performance skills up to the next level. Do your basic blues improvisations sound something like this? While there's nothing really wrong with the example I just played, it sort of doesn't have any life to it. It doesn't have any emotion or feeling. And it almost felt like, if I was an audience member, like the person was just kind of either inexperienced or dialing it in, or just didn't quite feel confident in what they were doing. Can you relate to that? If you can, type "yes, relate" in the comments. Now, all of us, when we're learning how to improvise, go through various stages when it comes to improvisation. And if you talk to anybody that is a professional player, they'll always tell you that they're never done with their journey. Improvisation is a journey. So that's the first tip I want to relay to you. It's so important. A lot of people that are in those intermediate, messy middle types of stages think that once they achieve this certain status, they won't have to worry about improvisation again, or their solos will just automatically sound perfect. It doesn't always work that way. So the first reason why you shouldn't just use a blues scale when improvising is this. It's going to make you feel stuck or pigeonholed. Why? Well, because you're going to feel like you can only use those choices of notes. Now, for some of you, it may feel like a security blanket, a crutch, and you're feeling like you don't want to let go of that. But picture this. Let's say you were told you had to present, a big presentation at your job in front of the big executives. And if you gave a great presentation, you get a huge promotion. If you didn't, you may get fired. Well, would you want to only have a few choices of notes or a few choices of words that you can use for that presentation? Probably not. Why do the same thing when you're focusing on improvising, when you're focusing on expressing yourself through music? So we don't want to limit our choices of notes. Now, the second reason why we don't just want to use a blues scale is some of those notes really, really clash with the chords in the blues form. Now, I'm talking about the basic blues, meaning the 1-4-5 blues, okay? Not the jazz blues. That would be like C jam blues and stuff like that, or Now's the Time, and not bird blues, like Blues for Alice. I'm talking about the basic blues. And by the way, you would not want to use just a blues scale for those other forms of the blues. It will really stand out, and it's not authentic to the way that we improvise over those blues forms. The notes in the blues scale do provide tension, and if you know how to resolve that, it provides release. But here's the big mistake a lot of people that are in that messy middle stage of improvisation make. They know their scale, they feel like they know their scale, they're using it, they're going throughout the range of their instrument, but they land on the wrong notes at the wrong times when they're improvising. Let me show you a real blatant example. right, that was, that was actually, I'm laughing because it was really hard to make those mistakes and really make them blatantly obvious. Now, listen, again, wherever you are in your journey, you know, you're going to be where you're at that point. It's going to sound really good for you, all right? And we want to, you know, praise you for wherever you're at in your journey. But we all feel like we want to get better. We all feel like we're stuck. We all feel like that person's solo was so much cooler than mine. I don't know why mine just don't sound that good. All right. So in this situation, what I just did, I hung out on that sharp 11, which is the same as the sharp 4. So on a tenor, it's a C sharp. I hung out on it during the 4 chord, the C chord. I hung out on it during the 5 chord. Not a great spot. I also played the flat 3, the B flat, a little too much during the 5 chord. So not the best choices. Of course, when you listen to some of the masters like Charlie Parker and Stanley Turrentine, Cannonball Adderley, they do play those notes, those clashy notes during those chords. But here's the difference, and this is the next tip I want to give you, and this is the next thing that you've got to, you know, think about. You don't want to put those clashy notes in and not know how to resolve them, or not resolve them in the right way. All right, so your next question may be, well, what's the right way? It's really going to depend on the groove from the rhythm section. Now, granted, I've got this basic, you know, backing track, so there's not, it's a little hard to react to that, and that's one of the problems that many people have when they're practicing improvisation with backing tracks. It's better to do it with live people, and hopefully that day will come back very soon. But the groove that's established by the rhythm section, you're part of the band, so you're reacting with them. You're part of that, and you're going to know rhythmically where to place those clashy notes and rhythmically where to resolve them. Okay, so in order to properly resolve, a lot of it has to do with rhythm and the placement of those notes in the measure and how long you hold those notes out for. It also has to deal with this next thing, which is your confidence. If you play a wrong note and you make it look like it was a wrong note with your body expressions, your facial expressions, or just even your sound, you back off a little bit, people are going to react to that. They're going to know that it was probably not the right choice of note, and they'll know you made a mistake. Is it the most awful thing? No, not at all, okay, unless you make it really a bad mistake in your head. But it's something to learn from. So the clashy notes, you need to know how and where to place them and how and where to resolve them. Okay, so we know that we don't want to be limited in terms of our note choices and feel pigeonholed or stuck and not be able to give our best presentation. We also know that we don't want to hang out on the really clashy notes and not know how to resolve them properly, to resolve that tension. And we also don't want to feel a lack of confidence on the stage. We want to feel better about what we're playing and how we're approaching our solos. So what do we do? How do we get out of that messy middle stage? Well, the number one thing you can do is learn the chord tones for the chords that are in the basic blues. Now, some of you are probably saying, wait, stop. I don't want to deal with any kind of theory that I don't want to be dealing with that. I don't have the time. Okay, listen, let me give you another analogy. Learning your chord tones isn't really theory. It's actually building your technique. Would you ever limit yourself in terms of learning more vocabulary words in terms of speaking? Oh my gosh, I would hope not. Picture that presentation analogy again. Do you want to limit yourself? You shouldn't, okay? You probably don't want to do that. So you should be practicing your scales, your arpeggios all the time because you want to build your technique. Well, why not work on the only 3 chords that are in the basic blues, the 1-7, the 4-7, and the 5-7? Why not work on those? And by working on those, you're going to see that there's going to be some common tones that are in the blues scale and some others that are not going to be common tones. And it's those not common tones that you'll want to emphasize at certain points in the blues form. Okay, so the first step that you need to take is you've got to figure out the chord tones. And if you need to write it out, you write it out for your instrument. So I've been playing in concert F, which for B flat instruments, it's the key of G. For E flat instruments, it's the key of D. And for C instruments, it's obviously the key of F. So my three chords are G7, C7, and D7. And again, figure out how to form a dominant 7 chord, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, for each of the chords that you would use for your particular instrument. So what I'm going to do in this example, I'm just going to use chord tones for each of those spots in the form. All right, so let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, when you first start practicing that exercise that I just did, it's going to feel really daunting because you're working through all the chord tones, you're playing through the range that you're comfortable with. You're going to feel like you're going to lose a little bit of control. That's okay. You've got to go through that. That's fine. Once you feel comfortable with that, the next step is you can use your blues scale, but know where you are in the form so that you could hit the right notes that fit that chord change. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So the reason why, or the reasons why we don't just use a blues scale when improvising are we don't want to be pigeonholed into having too few note choices. Number two, we want to sound more authentic to what we're playing, which will lead to more confidence on the stage. And number three, when you know the chord tones of the only 3 chords that are in a basic blues, you're going to know where you are better in the form, and you're going to feel more confidence in playing and choosing the notes that you want to choose for your improvised solo. And number 4, as a bonus, with those extra note choices, that's going to give you so many more ideas for you to choose from when you're improvising. Hey, did you like this video? Well, like it and tap that subscribe bell so that you'll know each and every week when I put out new videos. Now, if you like tips like these, there's 2 more places you can check out. Go to my website at donnaschwartzmusic.com for a lot more free tips and suggestions and articles that will help you boost your improvisation and performance skills to the next level. You could also check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/donnaschwartzmusic, where you can make a small monthly donation of like $3, and you could learn more tips like this and in fact get more instruction on learning more licks, whether they're blues licks or great jazz licks or even great melodies to songs. Hey, thanks so much for joining me. On that note, take care. Have a great day.